once again, a big news story within about 24, 30 hours of our show. So that's naturally what we're going to lead with. USC finds Benny Wiley's replacement at strength coach, Trumain Carroll from Kansas State. So we're going to chop this up a little bit. Ethan, your initial reaction to the hire of Trumain Carroll from Kansas State?
I'm excited, Matt. I mean, I think he did a lot with that program over there. When I was looking at his numbers, I mean, Kansas State had a 36-17 record in the past 4 years, including 3 bowl victories and the 2022 Big Ten championship over number 3 TCU, which, if by my count, USC only, had 2 bowl victories. He also won 9 or more games in the last 3 seasons, and he was one of only 4. He was part of one of only 5 Power 5 teams to win that total and win a conference championship in that span. And yeah, by my count, USC only had 1 9 or more win season and no conference titles. So even that would have been an improvement on our tenure. And obviously, you don't have quite as many resources out there in Manhattan, Kansas, as you do in Los Angeles, California. So I think that's exciting. I think that he's done a lot of good stuff with that program over there. And he's also got a lot of experience. I mean, he's been around. He was at Missouri, Kansas City, South Carolina State, Oklahoma State, SMU, Arkansas, South Florida, and then he ended up at K-State for the 4 years. So he's got a lot of experience. He's, had some recent success. And I think that he's a guy that we can be excited about for sure. It's not a super crazy splashy hire. We're not getting somebody from a massive program, but it feels like a really solid hire and a guy that, especially with a program like this, with a ton of resources that could really flourish. So I'm excited. Yeah.
I am too. I think the main observation I'd like to make and emphasize is that Kansas State has been a punch you in the mouth type program. Like, there are certain programs, like we can all identify them. Some are finesse offenses. They beat you with speed. They beat you with, trying to score 40, 45 points per game. There are other programs, they just try to run you over. They try to beat you up. They like the back alley street fight. Kansas State is one of those programs. Kansas State's not a fancy schmancy program. It's not about the scheme. It's not about the innovative razzle dazzle. They just want to play slobber knocker football, and they've done it really well, right? They won the Big 12, as you alluded to, very recently. They've punched above their weight a lot, and so that to me tells me this is a really good hire. The other thing, folks, USC and UCLA fans, when Chip Kelly and Clay Helton were both coaching against each other, each fan base would say about the other, like USC fans would say, Chip Kelly is a great coach. UCLA needs to retain him. Go all in with Chip. And UCLA fans, of course, Clay Helton's just the best coach ever. Look how positive he is. Look at players love him. You've got to retain Clay Helton, coming from Westwood, of course. So when the enemy's saying great things about your coach, your operation, something's wrong. And of course, the flip side, when someone else is saying, darn, that's a really big loss for us, like that really stings. Like, wow, are we going to be as good? Kansas State beat writers, Kansas State reporters. I don't know if you follow any of them, but there's a guy named Kellis Robinette, longtime Kansas State beat writer. He said significant loss for Kansas State to lose Trumain Carroll. Derek Young runs another Kansas State website. He wrote, wow, this is a high impact loss. Now, they do think that their replacement, a guy named Ray Thomas, they think he can do the job. He got promoted internally as the replacement. So, obviously, they had their they were ready with a fill-in for Trumain Carroll. But still, when the affected school says, this is a significant loss, the people who cover that school say this is a significant loss, to me, that's also a central reason to be very optimistic about this hire. Ethan, there was another part of this story, not the Trumain Carroll story, but USC trying to hire a strength coach. So obviously the Trojans got their guy, but this was not the number one candidate over the weekend, reports surfaced that USC was making a run at Derek Owings, and he is the strength coach for Curt Cignetti at Indiana. So the rumors flew, Indiana locking down Derek Owings. To me, Ethan, while we definitely celebrate the hire of Trumain Carroll, I think it's a celebration-worthy hire. It's just notable that, Indiana's meteoric rise as a program under Cignetti, that tells me that if USC had gotten Derek Owings, that would have been a home run. So, like, the point to emphasize here, USC football, like, the right decisions are being made. Like, the Rolodex, in terms of having your plan A, your plan B, like, this search for a new strength coach, textbook, like, could not have gone any better. I mean, maybe you get Derek Owings, that it could have gone better than that, but they didn't get their 1A, they got their 1B. It's so refreshing to see a smart football ops right now at USC. Like, they handled this as well as you reasonably could have.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think that, Derek Owings is, like you said, would have been the 1A, but you can't really blame him for not leaving. I mean, Curt Cignetti has Indiana in a great place. He is also a very good PR guy, very good, at facing the camera. So I assume he's like that internally as well. I assume that he inspires a lot of belief in his staffers and a lot of, belief in what they can go out and accomplish the next year, especially having just gone to a college football playoff. So, you can't really blame him for not leaving and going and getting a guy who's in a situation where he's had success, but there's a clear difference between the kind of resources and trajectory that you have at Kansas State, which is still positive. They've been a great program, but they're not a program that historically has consistent national title aspirations, whereas USC is one that, over the years has been able to consistently get back to that and, has the great recruiting class coming in 2026 that it seems like there's no strength coach in the country that wouldn't want to handle those guys. So I think that, yeah, they pivoted in the right direction after losing out on the number one guy. And they had that backup plan. Like you said, you can't really expect to get a guy like, Derek Owings at Indiana. So you have to have a backup plan, and they executed that really well.